Imagine the 1930s. The American heartland, once a breadbasket, is turning to dust. Skies are no longer blue, but a churning, terrifying brown. This was the Dust Bowl, a decade of desperation where crops failed, livestock perished, and hope was as scarce as a drop of rain. In the midst of this widespread despair, stories of unimaginable hardship emerged, but so did tales of incredible human spirit. Today, we're going to uncover one of those stories. A tale passed down through whispers and memories, the story of an unknown farmer who became a quiet legend. In a small, forgotten corner of the Oklahoma Panhandle lived a farmer named Thomas Hale. He wasn't rich or famous. He was a man of the earth, with a weathered face that told the story of countless seasons under the sun. While others watched their fields blow away, paralyzed by the relentless dust storms, Thomas did something different. He saw the writing on the wall. He began to think not just about his own family's survival, but about his entire community. Before the worst of the black blizzards hit, Thomas made a gamble. He took what little he had and began stockpiling grain, storing it in every nook and cranny of his sturdy barn. He wasn't hoarding. He was preparing. He had a premonition that things were going to get much, much worse. At the same time, he'd heard about community canning initiatives from a traveling agricultural agent. He convinced his wife, Ruth, and a few neighbors, like the resourceful Maria Ortega, to learn these techniques. They started preserving every scrap of food they could from their dwindling gardens: beans, tomatoes, anything that would grow. People thought he was peculiar, an old-timer stuck in his ways. But Thomas Hale was looking at the horizon, and he saw a storm much bigger than dust. As the years ground on, the situation grew dire. Families were starving. The proud faces of his neighbors were etched with hunger and desperation. This is when Thomas's plan swung into action. He didn't just hand out food. That would have wounded their pride. Instead, he organized. With the help of Maria and an elderly, respected man in the community named Elijah Carter, he set up a discreet soup line right out of his kitchen. It started small, just a pot of thin soup and some bread. But word spread. He knew cash was worthless, so he created a system of mutual aid built on dignity. He bartered. A family could bring a few mended shirts, and in return, they'd get a sack of potatoes and some jars of canned beans. A young boy, Samuel Brooks, would offer to chop firewood for a few hours in exchange for milk for his baby sister. Thomas understood that giving people a way to contribute, to work for their food, restored a piece of their soul that the dust was trying to steal. He even organized work parties to dig community root cellars, creating shared spaces to store what little they all had. It wasn't charity. It was solidarity. It was a community refusing to let itself be broken. But his efforts didn't go unnoticed, and not everyone was a believer. Some of his neighbors, consumed by their own fear, grew skeptical. They accused him of hoarding, of trying to profit from their misery. Whispers turned to outright hostility. A local banker, seeing no profit from Thomas's parched land, began foreclosure proceedings, threatening to take the very barn that was keeping the town alive. And all the while, the dust kept coming. Storms would rage for days, burying fences, suffocating livestock, and undoing weeks of hard work in a matter of hours. There were times when even Thomas, staring out at the brown apocalypse, felt a crushing weight of despair. Could one man's foresight really stand against the wrath of nature and the desperation of man? He was fighting a war on two fronts, one against the elements and one against the erosion of trust within his own community. Then came the storm to end all storms. It was a black blizzard of biblical proportions, a monstrous, rolling wall of dirt that turned midday into midnight. The wind howled like a banshee, ripping shingles from roofs and threatening to tear down the flimsy homes of the townspeople. Panic erupted. Families, blinded and choking, fled their houses, seeking any shelter they could find. Where did they run? They ran towards Thomas Hale's farm. His barn, the one he had so carefully maintained, became the town's ark. Inside, shielded from the terrifying chaos, dozens of families huddled together. Thomas, Ruth, Maria, and Elijah worked tirelessly. They fired up the wood stove, and the barn, which had been a symbol of preparation, transformed into a massive relief kitchen. They served hot soup and fresh bread, offering not just sustenance for the body, but a beacon of hope in the heart of the storm. In that moment, all the skepticism and mistrust vanished. Blown away by the same wind that threatened to destroy them, they were no longer just neighbors. They were survivors, united in a dusty barn, sharing a meal and a common fate. The banker's threats, the whispers, the doubts, they all seemed so small inside those walls. When the great storm finally passed, the sun broke through the haze to reveal a landscape forever changed, but a community that had survived. The town slowly began to recover, not just because the rains eventually returned, but because they had learned to lean on each other. Thomas Hale never sought recognition. He faded back into the quiet life of a farmer, his heroic efforts known only to those he saved. There were no statues erected, no newspaper articles written. His legacy was something far more powerful. It was a story told by a grateful mother to her child, a memory shared between old friends, a lesson in compassion passed down through generations. Maria Ortega, Elijah Carter, and even young Samuel Brooks would tell the tale of the farmer who saw the storm coming and chose to build a bigger table instead of a higher fence. The story of Thomas Hale isn't just a relic of the past. It's a powerful reminder of the impact of mutual aid, the importance of innovation in times of crisis, and the profound dignity that comes from helping one another. It reminds us that history is filled with unsung heroes, ordinary people who do extraordinary things, not for fame or glory, but because it's the right thing to do. Their names may be lost to time, but their spirit of resilience lives on in the heart of every community that comes together to face a storm. Thank you so much for joining us to uncover this incredible piece of hidden history. If this story moved you, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing for more stories of the unsung heroes who shaped our world. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, take care.